Good evening and welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, March 24th, 2022. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. Vincentians are being forced to find ways to cut down on their shopping bills in light of price hikes on food and other commodities. SVG-TV News team visited capital Kingston today to hear how consumers and wholesalers are being affected.
Over the last few weeks, economists as well as trade and energy experts have issued warnings to the Caribbean to brace for increases in the price of fuel and wheat caused by the Russian-Ukraine war and resulting sanctions being imposed by Western countries. Supermarket prices are already increasing as importers grapple with rising shipping costs. Shoppers in Kingston today told SVG-TV News the recent hikes are hurting their pockets and they have resorted to eating local and removing items from their carts in order to manage.
A few of the items have gone up, they've increased. Yeah, I definitely noticed it. Well, my family is not big, so we just kind of have to lessen the amount that we use and the amount that we waste if there was wastage.
I'm from Espo. I've noticed the rise in prices, so I just have to buy what I need and nothing more. That's it. It's me and my husband, so we just cut down on what we buy. If we don't need it, you leave it. It look like I'm going to eat stone. Because I don't have a salary that's going to increase. I don't have any way of getting extra money, so I'll have to make do and cut down on what I eat.
The increase have gone up so much, it has gone up so much. When you go to the supermarket, you will just pick up 2 little things. When you reach by the cashiers, it's like $80-something. You want to know what's going on, because sometimes I just tell the cashier to give me my bill, let me see what's going on. Well, I just have to buy. I just have to buy it, because it's my children. I want them to feel happy. I want them to get something to eat. I don't want them to go and beg anybody.
Wholesale businesses have also had to cut back on the number of items they import, as duties are reportedly driving operation costs up. Cathy and Sons Cheapside said they are trying to keep their prices low to benefit consumers.
We're not here to kill people, you understand what I'm saying? Always poor people, so we'll just try our best to sell as cheap as possible, just to so that we can help keep the business afloat. I kind of cut back from bringing up a lot of coconut oils, because coconut oils raise up real high. Large beef, I had to stop selling large beef because large beef's price is way up. From Canada, right? You buy a bag of chocolate over there for like $20, right? There's a big pack with 365 inside there. When they come here, the customer is up. I used to pay like say $30-something to clear that. Now it's like $40-something to clear one. So I gotta raise up and sell like a pound like for $15. If they drop back down to the 30-something, then I could drop back down to sell about $13-12 a pound, and instead of selling for $15.
Resellers of fertilizers are also feeling pain, as this week the cost of fertilizer rose by over $40.
If I sell a drop of fertilizer, I have all these things here. I don't make no money in the market. I have to raise my price. Compulsory. How I used to sell it, I can't sell it again. I used to sell a sack of fertilizer for $65. They raised it to $70, from $70, $85, from $85, $90, $95, and now I hear $140 for a sack of fertilizer. That's really ridiculous.
Consumers made a call to government to implement measures to shield Vincentians from recent price hikes. Reporting for SVG-TV News, Christina Smith.
And the predictions by economists for increases in the local price of wheat as a result of the hike in oil prices on the international market due to the Russian-Ukraine conflict has become a reality. As of Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022, local suppliers announced an increase in the cost of flour. Information received by SVG-TV News indicates that one supplier has increased the price of a 100-pound sack by $23, while the price of a 25-pound bag has increased by $6. Today, bakery owners spoke to SVG-TV News, explaining that in addition to the hike in the price of flour, the cost of other ingredients has also increased.
Told me that flour is going to raise about $20 more and more, and it's so terrible, because right now the people them complaining about the price of the bread. They say flour raising, everything raising except salary. 2 weeks ago, we tried to put on a little 50 cents on it. And right now, some of them are just paying $2.
Owner of Randy's Bakery, Randy Kennedy, said his business has been trying to absorb the increased costs, but they now have no other option than to increase the price of bread.
Flour was not really the main factor. That has added to the other factors, because butter has raised, lard has raised, right? In my case, I do a bread with cooking oil, and that has gone up tremendously. And then now the flour. No, not that the flour has gone up now. We have to definitely increase, because everything else went up and we didn't increase the bread. Well, what most persons have been doing, like, not dollar, I think it's the most, anything up by 50 cents.
As the Unity Labour Party celebrates 21 years in government this week, members of Parliament on the government side used the opportunity in the congratulatory segment in Parliament today to hail the party's progress in the development of SVG over the years. Deputy Prime Minister Montgomery Daniel congratulated party leader and Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves for his leadership quality and vision.
The Prime Minister of this country is a tree that we should prune and fertilize so that he can continue to bear fruit for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Madam Speaker, I recall the Prime Minister in 1998. As a matter of fact, it was the 8th of December 1998, where the Prime Minister pronounced on 3 promises to us that after the general elections, that you would insist that there is general elections, that there's a general election before 2003. He indicated equally that the Unity Labour Party will win the next general elections.
Sir Daniel highlighted the contributions of the ULP administration in education, health, housing, and in other areas over the 21 years, noting that they will continue to do their best to make St. Vincent and the Grenadines a better place.
We'll be looking to the young generation to take the party forward. So as we reflect on the past, Madam Speaker, we celebrate our achievements, but we continue to look towards and to chart a new way forward. But even in doing so, we recognize the difficulties. We recognize the influences, particularly the outside influences that would affect our policies and programs going forward. But I believe that setting the platform within the last 21 years, that even at the next general elections, that platform will set us on a path to win the next general elections for another 5-year term.
And Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves was not able to attend today's sitting of Parliament due to the flu. PM Gonsalves informed the nation of his current state on radio earlier this morning and noted that he had done different COVID tests, which all came back negative. However, he is battling a bad cold.
I just want to indicate to all the people when they hear the says today that I'm not feeling well and I wouldn't be at Parliament. There's nothing too seriously untoward. I got a terrible cold, terrible flu. Apparently it's going around. I mean, I escaped COVID and then ended up with the flu. And it really mashed me up.
The Prime Minister detailed to listeners some of the symptoms he have been experiencing and noted that he already knew prior to testing that he was not dealing with COVID-19.
It's a lot of stuffiness, headache, when naturally if you have to, all the phlegm, you have to get it out your system and then develop the coughing and the bronchitis now. It caught me when I was tired, and I've been pushed to the limit so that my body became susceptible now. I knew from the beginning that it wasn't COVID because I didn't have any of those symptoms. But on Saturday I took a rapid test and it was negative. And yesterday evening I took a PCR just in case it might have been possible for me to go to Parliament. And that is also negative.
PM Gonzalez said that the experience hasn't been pleasant, but he has been taking the necessary vitamins needed for a quick recovery.
We have a long agenda. All the paper is long. And today also is a celebration because Parliament is meeting just a few days before the 21st anniversary on Monday. I'm hopeful that in the next couple of days that I'll be fine. But I'm taking the antibiotic, the usual thing is for any bacterial infection naturally. But if you take medication, the usual vitamin C, the usual things for your cold, to expurgate, a mixture of things. But it hasn't been pleasant in the sense that I have to be so constrained now.
The Prime Minister wished his team the best in Parliament today, as he noted that the order paper is long and includes some important matters which may need to be postponed to a future date. In other news, residents in Layou have said they will continue to protest against the possible erection of a jetty at Jackson Bay until the project is quashed. The Physical Planning and Development Board issued a public notice recently stating that an application in principle has been made by SVG Aggregate Inc. for permission to erect a jetty in Layou. Residents have started a petition calling for the Physical Planning Department to dismiss the application, as they believe such a project will affect beach access for residents and marine life. Residents shared their concerns with SVGTV News today.
I think if there were to be another structure here, it would just ruin the beach. Right over there, you can't. My husband swims from here all the way up there. He says when you get there, it's all muddy and dirty. That's what would happen if they bring a bunch of soot and dirt and curry material here. It'll ruin the beach. It'll ruin the air, it'll ruin the beach.
Me find nothing wrong with them wharf and thing up there, but I think they should add a little bit of attachment to the wharf, you know what I mean? But when they find they should come on, at least they should at least let us know before them find out the parts that are inside planning, you know what I mean? I find that very disrespectful of the system.
I can understand why they all come and check the beach. We couldn't even walk across right there, so a bit of water now we get a little bit of space where people could come and get little picnics and things. People come and bring their children for land to swim. You could even come and get a little activity, church, everybody use the beach. And them getting try to take it away from me. That can't make sense.
Member of Parliament for Central Leeward, Randy Brewster, weighed in on the issue during the Star Radio Morning School program today, saying he believes the objections to the project are premature as the application is still in the preliminary phase.
So even though that I'm out of state, I am fully aware as to what is happening in Central Leeward in Layou, and I have spoken to persons there on the ground, and I think they may be able to get in their no subjections and so on before the time is out. And I really don't like the line that they're going down, because this matter has not even come to the cabinet as yet, because there's a process, and we have to understand that the government just cannot make a decision off of its own. It has to go through the due process. So the whole issue that the government don't give away, the lands and so the jetty come in, it's total nonsense.
President of the Cannabis Revival Committee is pleased with the export of medical cannabis from SVG, but at the same time, he has expressed disappointment that traditional growers are not benefiting significantly from the export. He hopes that more can be done moving forward. We hear more in this report.
On January 18 this year, SVG created history, being the first country from the Organization of the Eastern Caribbean States to export medical cannabis. 110 pounds of dried cannabis was shipped to Germany by Caribbean Cannabis Company Limited. President of the Cannabis Revival Committee, Junior Spirit Cottle, is excited for the industry, but is disappointed that traditional cultivators did not benefit significantly.
I think it is a milestone relative to where development of cannabis is concerned. On the other hand, I'm very disappointed that our traditional cultivators has not been more significantly involved in the process. But I don't know of any traditional cultivators who have sold products. If there are any, it is not any significant amount.
Moving forward, Cottle said he would love to see more done for the traditional cultivators.
We have not made any significant dent in the industry today. We have come to the conclusion that if we are to be so involved, we must not only look at the production aspect of the industry. We want to be involved in the manufacturing. We want to be involved in the processing. We want to be involved in the scientific research.
Cottle lauded the government for having the interest of the traditional cultivators in their plans for the cannabis industry, but said he would love to see the plans speeded up.
We have to have lands, and while the authority is making efforts to ensure or to provide traditional cultivators with lands, I think we need to fast track that also.
Traditional cultivators were also called on not to stay on the sidelines, but to play an active role in taking advantage of the provisions that are in place, such as the amnesty.
Traditional cultivators stop thinking about their individual selves and start to think about the industry. They themselves have to become active. Register with the medical cannabis industry. That amnesty law allows traditional cultivators to sell his cannabis to a licensed purchaser. The amnesty law facilitates the transition from the illicit cultivation to illicit cultivation. According to law, it's allowed to cultivate up to 5 acres of land for 2 years without being a license. I remain optimistic because I believe that MCA has traditional cultivators at heart.
In a statement on the departure of the first shipment of medical cannabis, Chief Executive Officer of the Medical Cannabis Authority, Dr. Gerald Thompson, had said that the Caribbean Cannabis Company, which trades as medicinal, is building supply chains with traditional cultivators in SVG. For SVG-TV News, Larissa Pugsley-Kidd.
And today, Thursday, March 24, 2022, is observed as World Tuberculosis Day, which seeks to raise public awareness about the consequences attached to the illness. The infectious bacterial disease was discovered in 1882 by Dr. Richard Koch over 140 years ago. Local infectious disease specialist Dr. Gerald Thompson said tuberculosis, as TB as it is commonly called, has over the years been the biggest infectious disease killer of all time.
Just in 2018 alone, 10 million people became infected in just that year. I must say that going back to 2018, 1.5 million people died from TB.
Dr. Thompson explained how TB affects one's body and the different stages of the disease.
When somebody becomes infected with TB, it infects them, but it doesn't necessarily cause disease. And around the world, there are 2 billion people of a global population of 8 billion. 2 billion, 1/4, have already been exposed to TB and have what we call latent TB. Unfortunately, about 10% of these individuals, sometime in their lifetime, will develop what we call active TB, usually in the lungs, or worse, outside of the lungs, as a great masquerader. Very difficult to diagnose. What the big problem is today is that the medications that we have to treat TB has now grown to be resistant to them.
The infectious disease specialist said although TB is generally tricky to identify as a preventative method, persons are encouraged to be alert and not to forsake hand washing and sanitizing.
The thing is, in general, you don't know whether it is TB, COVID, the flu. When persons are coughing, seem infectious, always be very mindful. Don't think it's TB. It could be any things. But the usual public health measures, washing hands and so forth, are really great. Before the invention of the antibiotic treatment for TB, the cases of TB had already started to drop because people were washing hands, people were covering their faces if coughing, people were doing the usual public health measures. And I think if we continue that, the various respiratory and other infectious disease conditions that we could become exposed to will all be diminished and suppressed, and the rate of their spreading will definitely decrease. And that, I think, is the major thing that each person, responsible person, can do.
The Salvation Army will host a youth fest this weekend. The activities, which will kick off on Friday, March 25th, 2022, to Sunday, March 27th, will be hosted by district leaders and special guests, Majors Jalika and Fidelia Leandre.
We'll start. So tomorrow night we'll have some cultural items. On Saturday morning we will have questions and answer, where the young people will ask them questions and they will answer. I will be part of it as well, but the mainly is them. And also in the afternoon, Saturday afternoon, we will have an activity where we will have a competition, because our theme for this year is unmasked, taken from 2 Corinthians 3:16 to 18. And so they will have, some discussion about unmask, your competition, the way they will make their own mask, and then they will speak about it. The Sunday morning, we will have our service, we call Holiness Meeting / Youth Councils. In the afternoon, we will have also another competition where we call it, a sermonate, where the young people will prepare a short message on the theme, and they will present it, like they will act it.
Local administrator of the Salvation Army, Ernest Gatchling, told SVGTV News that in light of COVID-19, they would not be able to accommodate everyone. However, the activities would be made available virtually.
We have an annual activity we have for the youth, we call Youth Councils, where we emphasize on the youth. When it's a church activity, we have, so that will be from tomorrow night to Sunday afternoon. If it was not for COVID, it would have been open to everybody. However, because of COVID-19, we wouldn't be able to do that, but we'll be on Zoom, Zoom, and we'll be on Facebook and YouTube as well.
The Youth Fest will be held under the theme Unmask, which is said to be centered around the youth spiritually removing whatever mask they've been wearing and stepping freely into who the Lord has called them to be.
We are pleased to be able to share together with the young people and we want to see the impact that they can make, in the society. They are living among their friends, and also the influence, the way they can influence others. Being a Christian, sometimes the world looking at us, and they want us to be the example. They want us to see a different thing in us.
Expectation is that young persons would be able to find ways and means to express themselves in such a way that they will make an impact on the world. Yes, the expectation really is that all young people, because they are very gifted, but at times the spirituality is a mask that they don't come out really to, maybe by fear of criticism, by fear of being rejected. They don't really come out to express themselves and to make an impact. So this is to encourage them to really make a difference in the community where they are, in the church where God has placed them.